After a crazy day in college football on a loaded slate, the AP poll has just dropped, and we're going to react here in real time, seeing it. David Cohn, former Michigan quarterback, my brother Blaine Crain, former Western State Colorado wide receiver. Guys, I want to go through it really, really quickly, and then I want us to talk about some of these other games we weren't able to instantly react to yesterday, which you can catch those: Texas, Oklahoma, Auburn, Georgia, Alabama, Missouri, as well as the ones we're going to get to here in a minute. So the AP poll dropped. It's Ohio State 1, Miami 2, Indiana 3, A&M 4, Ole Miss 5, Bama 6, Texas Tech 7, Oregon falls to 8, Georgia 9, LSU 10, Tennessee 11, Georgia Tech 12, Notre Dame 13, Oklahoma 14, BYU 15, Missouri 16, Vanderbilt 17, Virginia 18, USF 19, USC at 20, Texas at 21, Memphis at 22, Utah at 23, Cincinnati at 24, and Maryland at 25. I think one of the biggest things people were waiting to see was the Indiana movement after going on the road and beating Oregon, and who would be number one, because I think you can make a legitimate case for three teams right now. You look at Ohio State, you look at Miami, you look at Indiana. Blaine, I want to start with you. Would you have put Indiana at number one, or what's your instant and what's your instant reaction to the order of the top five?
No, I wouldn't have put Indiana at one. One, I'm glad Indiana's getting this love. They should get this love, and I think that it's a great fit at 3. Right now, to be honest, the more and more as weeks go coming in and out, Ohio State just it's amazing. I don't think they get talked about enough, but every Saturday they handle business. Mm-hmm. Every Saturday they handle business, and they're getting better and better and better. Miami, I'm fine with 2. Indiana, I'm fine with 3. I think you can make the same case for A&M. I mean, A&M's only getting better and better and better. I'm sure there's things you can find to put them at 1. My thing is just a couple things already. I think the AP voters are getting better and better week in and week out. One, it's just we need to come and realize the fact that Notre Dame is going to make the playoffs. Okay, we need to realize that. We've been saying it for weeks, right? And they're sitting at 13 right now. My second thing is, how is Cincinnati ranked ahead of Nebraska? I mean, it's like I wish we could have saw them on a neutral field. Or so, oh, wait, we did, and Nebraska won the football game. Ole Miss moving back, I'm fine with. They looked terrible against Washington State, and I thought A&M played extremely well. And another, Georgia Tech, sitting at 12, just not enough love. Not enough love. You're undefeated, right? You are an undefeated football team, and you beat a couple quality opponents. You're sitting at 12 behind how many one-loss teams? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 one-loss teams. So those are a couple of things early that I point out that the AP needs to fix. Other than that, not a terrible job. Not a terrible job.
Yeah, David, again, you know us. I mean, we've given the AP hell when we think they deserve it. I mean, Blaine brought up the Cincinnati point, but when I'm sitting here looking in the top 10, you've got 1 Big Ten, 2 Big Ten, 3 Big Ten. You've got 1 SEC, 2 SEC, 3 SEC, 4 SEC, 5 SEC, and then you've got obviously Miami in the ACC, and Texas Tech in the Big 12. Man, what do you think about Ole Miss at 5 after the way they looked yesterday? I mean, I know we said they're the most, and it's a high-class problem, the most flawed team in the top 5. But what do you think about Ole Miss and just your other generic thoughts, kind of just seeing this off the cuff?
Well, when I looked up at the screen and saw that score earlier in the game, I thought, of course, this is what Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss do. What they'll go beat the best team, and then they're going to have a game like this. But some of these weeks in college football, you just need to log a win, even if it's by 1 point. So I'm really excited, actually, for our power ranking tomorrow to see what we do with Ole Miss. A couple things here, though. I agree with Blaine's point. How I've been phrasing it the last few weeks is I think the Buckeyes are probably the best team in college football, but Miami has the best win, so I was fine having Miami at number 1. But now the Buckeyes have gone on the road to the West Coast and beaten Washington, and now they've gone on the road and beaten Illinois. To me, I don't have any problem with the Buckeyes at number 1, and I'll probably advocate for that tomorrow in our power rankings. But I do think Buckeyes, Miami clearly have set themselves apart apart. Indiana, I love that they've gone up from 7? It was 7 a week ago. You get a big win on the road. You go to 3. To me, that makes perfect sense. Texas A&M undefeated makes perfect sense. I think Ole Miss maybe falls right in there with those undefeated teams where it's like, okay, they did win the football game, or you're going to have a one-loss Alabama jump them. But here's one thing that I want to talk about, and that's Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Why is Texas Tech one of those undefeated teams that gets jumped by the one-loss Alabama team? Now, they might play on a neutral site, and Alabama might beat them by 2 touchdowns. I don't know. But when I look at this Texas Tech team, and I went back and rewatched their game yesterday again this morning before we hopped on, they have every single thing you could possibly want in a football team. Their backup quarterback had to come in again yesterday, Will Hammond, and he continues to get the job done. So to me, they fall in that category of undefeated teams that shouldn't be getting jumped by one-loss teams.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think if you're going to have Ole Miss at 5, you need to have Texas Tech being undefeated before you get to that one-loss Alabama, then one-loss Oregon, and one-loss Georgia. But what Kurt Cignetti's doing at Indiana, it's one of the best coaching jobs that I've ever seen. I tell you, Blaine, what's going to be fascinating to see is Tennessee plays Alabama next week. So, like, you've got a legitimate matchup here. I don't believe there's a bye week in between those. That game's going to be in Tuscaloosa, another chance for Alabama to notch a big win, but also for Tennessee to really make a jump if they're able to find a way. But, we talk about Ole Miss being shaky. I mean, Tennessee went into overtime with Mississippi State, who we got a lot of respect for, that beat Arizona State. We know that. But, they struggle with Washington State, yet, they stay at Ole Miss stays at 5, but Tennessee beats Arkansas at home by 3. And Arkansas, I know it's Bobby Petrino, but has an interim. I mean, how much do we believe in Tennessee right now? And why is Tennessee ahead of Georgia Tech?
I have no idea. I can't answer that question with a logical answer. I mean, I know your only loss is being Georgia, but I mean, Georgia Tech has a good enough resume to where they should be in front of them. And the thing with Tennessee, to be honest, just a disappointment when it comes to defense.
Yeah.
Like, your offense is really good. Heupel's system is really good. The way that they run it, I thought Joey has come in and looked phenomenal. You're finding a run game. You have 2 legitimate threats at wide receiver, but that depth on defense is showing. And not only the depth, just the basic fundamentals of gap integrity, tackling in open space. I mean, Bobby Petrino and Taylor Green, they are a good fit, and the Arkansas offense is good. But I just don't think Tennessee right now looks like a playoff team. Their defense is going to have to somewhat figure it out. But I will say it again, Georgia Tech does not get enough love because their brand is not huge. And the same thing with Texas Tech. I think, obviously, playing in the SEC is a really tough thing to do, and week in and week out, the opponents are tough. But you have to give other teams credit when they win good games against good teams. And I think the AP poll, as bad as it was, it's gotten better. But I can't sit here and give you a logical reason on why Tennessee's ahead of Georgia Tech.
David, I'd love to ask you what team in the top 25 isn't in there that you think should. I want to go ahead and say mine. Hey, UNLV's 6-0, bro. It hadn't been pretty.
Okay.
It hadn't been sexy, but they're 6-0, undefeated. Again, I mean, we can play the game of who should be out. I know Nebraska's sitting there at 25, Cincinnati's at 24. Is there a team outside of the top 25 you think should be in, other than UNLV, which we all know?
Lean in closely here. The Navy midshipmen. Did you see how they stayed undefeated yesterday against Temple? Was it pretty? No, 50-yard run for Horvath. And you know what? On top of that, let's just go for 2 because we're a service academy. Those are the people fighting for our country staying undefeated out there. So my group of 5 team, just like yours, Jake, is still alive. Can we not at least get some 24/25 love from them?
No, I'm with you. Blaine, is there a team that's outside of the top 25 that you're looking at that should be in there? Not necessarily. No. Well, I kind of said Missouri at 16. That feels low to me.
Like in a bad way or a good, like low as in
like they're ranked to like 6. They moved too far. I mean, your one loss is to Alabama.
Yeah.
So what about Oklahoma at 14? They were 6 a week ago. They lose to Texas in Red River. I mean, honestly, they probably would have been better off if they had lost without Mateer playing, because then they could have at least used that as an excuse.
Yeah.
I mean, not use it as an excuse, but it could have come up in conversation with like the playoff committee as you move forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's no way they should have dropped behind Notre Dame to me. Look, I get that Notre Dame lost to the number 2 and number 4 team. Those losses continue to look better as the season goes. I don't think they should have dropped that far. With Mateer, kind of like we said yesterday on the instant reaction, I felt like it was more of that getting out of rhythm because of the time off than it was really how hurt his thumb was. That one surprised me a little bit. But again, overall, I mean, when you have that many people voting and when half of them don't watch the games, this is a pretty decent product that I think they spit out. We can argue about some of the minutia, but I don't think it's nearly as egregious as some of the things we saw earlier in the year. But speaking of egregious, if you're not getting your meat from Good Ranchers, it's an egregious mistake. Okay, they've been sponsoring us for like 3 years now. There is not a type of meat, whether it be chicken, whether it be beef, whether it be pork, whether it be seafood, whether it be something cool that I haven't heard about yet that touches our grill that's not Good Ranchers. And we can vouch for it all day. And they're challenging families everywhere right now to get back to the table at least once a week, every week between now and Thanksgiving. They're doing weekly giveaways for a free holiday ham to help encourage people to connect with others around the table. To enter to win, all you have to do is share a photo of your gathering every Thursday night on your Instagram story. Use the hashtag back to the table and tag Good Ranchers. That's at Good Ranchers. And if gathering once a week feels impossible, Good Ranchers can help. Their high quality 100% American meat is delivered to your door, pre-portioned and triple trimmed, so you spend less time prepping and more time with the people you love. Again, we've used it forever. It's fantastic. These people don't miss. And here's the deal. You subscribe to any Good Ranchers box today using code BOOSTER. You get your pick of free meat for life. That's free meat for life, not just your first box. So hit up goodranchers.com. Use code BOOSTER for that $40 off plus free meat for life. Goodranchers.com.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
get back to the table. All right. Yesterday, we instant reacted to the Red River Shootout, to Auburn and Georgia, to Alabama and Missouri. We want to touch on some of the games we weren't able to talk about yesterday. And I want to start with Michigan and USC. And David Cohn, the floor is yours.
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to give all credit to USC, not just for winning this football game, but for being more physical and dominating in that fashion. And we've been very critical of Lincoln Riley, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, but also on the offensive side of the ball. I mean, they're not known for rushing for 220 yards against defenses like Michigan, like they did yesterday, which was the most rushing yards Michigan has given up since TCU in the college football playoff. And I believe they had the same running back coach at both places now, incidentally. But all credit to them. I do think Mekhi Lemon is a top 5 wide receiver in this country. King Miller is still running somewhere. So a statement win for Lincoln Riley and the USC Trojan. And let's see moving forward. Can they be competitive in this league? Maybe fight for a Big Ten title. I don't know if they're in that upper echelon with the Buckeyes and Indiana and Oregon right now, but we're going to find out. On the Michigan side, absolutely uninspiring performance, undisciplined performance. They have a slew of problems. I hate to see Justice Haynes go out because he really, I do think he's a top running back in the country. Hopefully he can get well as they head into the Washington game. Some good things. I think the McCulley and Marsh combo at wide receiver is emerging as a really dynamic duo. Let's see if, how this team wants to respond now after having 2 losses. Here's the schedule moving forward, boys. I mean, you're going to have Washington at Michigan State, Purdue at home, at Northwestern, at Maryland, and then obviously we know what happens Thanksgiving. You get to host the Buckeyes in the Big House. So, look, with that schedule and with the talent that they have on that team, if you can't make a 12-team college football playoff, then to me that speaks to coaching, and it's really disappointing. But let's see how they respond.
Do you have to beat Ohio State? Do you have to go 10-2 to get in if you're Michigan, David?
Yeah, I think you got to go 10-2, which means at this point you'd have to win out. But, I mean, before we even get there, can you just beat a quarterback like Damon Williams and Washington coming to your house? Let's just see if you can do that first. And then, I mean, I do think Michigan obviously plays a lot better when they're at home, but you're going to have to go to Maryland. With the way Maryland's been playing, I don't know if Michigan can go on the road and beat Maryland right now. They're not a disciplined football team. They don't travel well. So, look, and I know everybody in the country wants to talk about Michigan looked their best when Biff Poggi was the interim head coach. That's a hot topic of conversation. And I understand what they're talking about. At the same time, Sharon Moore's the head coach. He was the successor of Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh's a heck of a football coach. Those are big shoes to fill. And, now your back's against the wall. So let's really find out.
Blaine, USC, we've given Lincoln Riley a lot of hell, and it's deserved. It's deserved because, again, USC, I know you lose a close one at Illinois, but you still kind of look like one of those Lincoln Riley teams, can do a lot offensively, can make the wow plays, but when it comes down to the physicality of stopping the run, adopting physicality as an identity, they've struggled to do that consistently, but yesterday seemed like a renaissance. USC beat Michigan the way that Michigan beats teams. That looked like a Big Ten team, right, that stays out on the West Coast. Maava was 25 of 32, 265, 2 touchdowns, had that 1 interception late on the tip pass, but it was King Miller, 160 yards on 18 carries and a touchdown with a long of 50. But then defensively, that's the story for me. I never question Lincoln Riley's offense, just like I don't question Hardy's chicken biscuits, right? But it was that defense. See, I don't know how you could do that. You had a bad experience once over there, and you blame everybody else at Hardy's. But you shut out Michigan in the first quarter. You shut them out in the third. You only give up 7 in the second and 6 in the fourth. A dominant performance by a dominant-looking defense. Can they keep it up? Because when you look at the rest of their schedule, which I'm pulling up right now, you've got Notre Dame on the road next. You've got on the road at Nebraska. Then you've got Northwestern at home, Iowa at home, at Oregon, and then UCLA at home. That UCLA game's looking a little different than it did at the beginning of the year. Is this who USC is, or was this a flash in the pan?
I mean, you have to say this is who USC is, because at the end of the day, you're playing Michigan, right? Yeah. And I always say, I promise you, anytime I could turn a Michigan game on, it could be right now, it could be 3,000 years ago. I bet they're pretty good at running the ball and stopping the run on defense, right? I feel like that's forever. And I don't even have to look at the score to see who won this football game. Just give me time of possession. USC wins time of possession against Michigan, 33 minutes to 26. And the craziest stat to me, USC averaged 7 a carry.
Yeah.
7 a carry.
That opens up a lot of things.
Against Michigan's defense. If you'd have told me Maeva came up, lit it up through the air, 300-plus yards, threw it 40-plus times, wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at that. But if you'd have told me USC won time of possession, averaged 7 yards a carry, ran it more than Michigan, and had a 225 yards on the ground, I would have called you a witch and tried to get you burned at the stake. Right? There's no way that happens against a Michigan football team. And good for DeAnton Lynn and the co-DC over there for USC, getting those guys up. And if you're USC with that schedule, right, you'll be in every single football game with that offense if your defense can play like this.
And a big one.
You'll be in, not only at home, but on the road, right? Yeah. Defense travels. So that's huge for Lincoln Riley. That's huge for USC. And on the Michigan side of it, look, at the end of the day, I don't think you should have expected to make the playoffs with a brand new quarterback. The kid's 18 years old. And I know he's played pretty well. He's looked different. He's going to be a great player. It's just I think Michigan's probably a year away.
Then let me ask you a couple questions. One, why are we having to play an 18-year-old kid? Why don't we have a better solution at quarterback than to have to play an 18-year-old true freshman? One, okay, and if you want to continue to put that on Jim Harbaugh instead of Sharon Moore for not developing the position after J.J. McCarthy, okay, fine. I mean, we went through this already last year where that was the Achilles heel of the team, and we said, man, if we could just be average, we have so many great players running around, if we could just be average at that position, for sure we'll make a 12-team college football playoff. Let's don't forget, Michigan made the last 3 14 college football playoffs. The last 3 of them. The playoff triples in size, and now all of a sudden we're 7-5, 8-5, looking like we're headed for another 8-4 team. Like, again, there's too many good players at the same time that your schedule is too favorable. No Oregon, no Penn State, which at this point you might want to play Penn State, no Indiana, no Illinois. You want to look at a schedule, go look at 2026. Yeah, Bryce will be a sophomore. Go look at that schedule if you want to get punched in the gut. This was a year to at least make the college football playoff, not that you were going to win a national championship with a true freshman quarterback, but you know who did? Dabo Swinney figured out a way to do it when Trevor Lawrence was a true freshman. He threw for over 3,000 yards. So at some point, I'm just tired of the excuses from Michigan because you have way too many good football players to not put together at least a more inspiring performance and more fight against a team that you should be physical against.
Yeah, well, we're going to see going out. Both teams still technically control their own destiny. But, guys, what some could argue was the biggest game of yesterday, Indiana goes into Oregon and not only wins, but wins by double digits. Not only wins, but is able to overcome a pick 6 that tied the game up that some people would have shied away from. And the overarching take for me in this game was that Indiana, you talk about self-belief, you talk about attitude reflecting leadership, you talk about a team taking on the FU we're going to win anyway identity of a head coach. You walk into Eugene and score 10 in the first and 10 in the fourth. Oregon didn't outscore you for 1 quarter. The closest it got was you each scored 3 in the second. And I'm telling you right now, I can make a great argument Kurt Cignetti is the best coach in college football. I could make a great argument that nobody right now is more accountable when all the chips are on the table or when it matters the most than Indiana. Surratt, dog, 8 catches, 121 and a tud. Hemby, dog, 70 yards, hard yards on 19 carries and 2 touchdowns. Fernando Mendoza wasn't great, 20 of 31 for 215 with a touchdown and interception, but brushed it off, was able to finish the game. Blaine, I'm going to start with you. Indiana's really about it, buddy.
No, Indiana belongs, right? And I will say, I'm a big Kurt Cignetti fan. I don't know if he's the best coach in college football. I mean, I know you're at Indiana, but, I mean, you haven't won anything really yet.
I mean, you made the college football playoff in year 1 at Indiana.
Does that make you the best college football coach? You taking Kurt Cignetti? No. You taking Kurt Cignetti or Kirby Smart?
Right now, to just a team from scratch.
Kirk Cignetti would take Kirk Cignetti.
Yeah. Look, again, I'm not saying that I think he is. What I said is you could make a really good argument that this man is the hottest head coach in college football right now, and he talks his ish and backs it up.
Sure.
That's
the hottest
thing.
Coach. Look, yeah, the hot, like from okay, don't clip that. But from that standard, yeah, you change your messaging up a little bit. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's nothing hotter right now than Cignetti in Indiana, but they belong. And it's not even like, and the way they belong, I think Indiana plays the most fundamental football in the country.
They do.
I really do. Gap integrity is always there. They're fast. They're smart. They have IQ. Their defense can tackle in space. I mean, you held Oregon to 3 for 14 on third down. They did get 3 for 4 on fourth down, but hell, if you're making a team go for it on fourth down that many times, a lot of things are going right. You made Dante Moore, a lot of people's Heisman favorite, including mine, only throw for 186 yards with 2 picks.
Yeah.
Fernando Mendoza played good. I don't think he played great. But Indiana never really beats themselves, right? And if you can walk in with that identity week in, week out, thinking you belong, the way Kurt Cignetti has these guys believing, Indiana football belongs with the best in college football.
David, Oregon. I don't think there's any reason to panic. You're coming off of a lot of emotion, right? You're coming off. You still got young players. We talked about Hill. Obviously, DeCornia Moore, 1 catch for 7 yards yesterday. I think this Oregon team's got everything in front of them. I think they got a favorable schedule in the Big Ten when you look at it. Should there be any panic right now for Oregon, or did they just get beat by a better football team yesterday on a given day?
Yeah, no, there shouldn't be any panic at all. To be honest with you, this little bit of adversity in the middle of the season might be better for them. Remember, they had a similar game like this in Eugene a year ago with the Buckeyes. They ended up being on top, go undefeated in the regular season, win the Big Ten championship game, and then what happened in the Rose Bowl? Got their pants pulled down out in the first round of the first game that they played in the college football playoff. Maybe this is better for them to take a loss here in the middle of the season, be able to regroup. I wouldn't panic at all. I hadn't seen a team be able to get consistent pressure on Dante Moore yet. That's what really surprised me. Indiana on defense, being able to get after him, to make his life uncomfortable in the pocket. Oregon's too good on both sides of the football, and to be honest, their schedule is too favorable. They're right here in the thick of this thing, and to be honest, they're not even out of the Big Ten championship hunt.
For sure.
Even though you do have your back against the wall if you're trying to make that game, because the Buckeyes aren't slowing down, and now Indiana has the head-to-head. One thing I wanted to say, if you're going to go on the road and beat the number 3 team in the country at their place, a couple key battles to win. Here's what Indiana did. Win third down. Did it. Win the total yards battle. Did it. Win the turnover battle. They did that. Win time of possession. They won all 4 of those. And I thought Oregon was going to climb back in this thing after the Mendoza pick 6. I want to ask you guys this. Blaine, you first as a wide receiver, and then Jake, you second as someone who coached DBs. That pick 6 is just as much on the wide receiver. It was man coverage on a drag all the way across the field. He could see that the ball was either underthrown or at least was not going to be led in front, and made no fight to get to that ball. Yeah. DB undercut him in man coverage and took it to the house.
Yeah,
go ahead, Blaine. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, you have to have, feel as a receiver. And sometimes as a receiver, you have to realize that you turn into a defender.
Yes.
Right? Like you turn into a defender. I just watched Puka make a play in the end zone where he had to knock a ball out from being picked. Like, that's the kind of thing like that worries me. And you never really have to question effort when it comes to Cignetti, the Cignetti coach football team. But at some point, if you play receiver, not every ball is going to be perfect. Not every ball is going to be on the money. You have to turn into a defender right there and knock that down, or at least slow your body and do something. So Mendoza, it was a bad ball, not a good ball, but the receiver gave up on it. And that could have been a difference just from an incomplete pass or an interception and a tackle, right, to make Oregon go down the field and earn it. And the guy just gave up on it. So I really don't understand what the thought process was there.
Well, I'll say as a DB, a lot of times in man, and we used to teach this in mesh, and some people will make fun of it. It's called tailpiping. It's to make sure you don't get picked. You stay directly behind the guy. Now, I can't remember if it was mesh or not.
There wasn't another crosser coming.
Okay.
Underneath.
So you're still there's a lot of the theory is when you're in man coverage and you're trailing like that, if you're going to undercut the ball, you better pick it off. It's just like jumping something. If you're going to cut underneath it, you better at least knock it away or pick it off. And the beautiful part is if you pick it off, there's probably a good chance you're going to score. And that's what happened. So I thought it was a gamble by the DB, but it was a smart gamble because he knew where he was at. And if the receiver wants to keep fading away or not fight back to it, or not make an attempt to come back to it to at least disrupt you trying to pick it off, well, that's free money. So I think it was two things that worked out at once. But I was more impressed with the way Mendoza was able to bounce back from it. And they actually asked Cignetti what he said to him when he ran over there to talk to him. And you know what Cignetti said to Mendoza after the pick six that tied the game on the road in the biggest game of Curt Cignetti's life? He looked at his quarterback and goes, "Hey, you having fun yet?" And the quarterback and Mendoza goes, "Yeah, I want to have more fun." So wow. I just love the way this team is built. But looking at Oregon's schedule, you're at Rutgers, you should win. Wisconsin at home, murder. At Iowa, you should win. Minnesota at home, murder. USC at home, you should win. At Washington, you should have a good shot to win, right? So, again, if you're Oregon, there's no need to panic. And on the Indiana side, David, you bring up them having the tiebreaker. I'm looking at the rest of the schedule right here. Indiana's got Michigan State at home, UCLA at home, at Maryland, at Penn State, Wisconsin at home, and at Purdue. So I'm looking at this bad boy right now. Tell me how Indiana does it. Will the Big Ten have the top three seeds? Like, will they have the top three seeds? Because think about it. If Ohio State wins out, Indiana wins out, Indiana will play Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. And then Oregon, if they win out, will be sitting there at 11-1, not have to play in the Big Ten championship game. I'm watching the SEC. They're just beating the shit out of each other up at the top, which is going to continue to happen when you look at the next 5 weeks. Dude, we could have 3 Big Ten teams as 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you might be right, but I do think this is a scenario where the SEC will now get more teams in, sort of breaking from my hypothesis early in the year, because I thought Illinois and quite frankly, Michigan also had and Penn State, also had an opportunity to be right there in the thick of things in a top-heavy league. Now, not only is it looking top-heavy, but I don't know if you're going to get more than 3 in, whereas I think the SEC has a better chance to get that 4th or 5th team in, maybe 10-2 or possibly 9-3. Even though there's tons of cannibalization in that league, I think there's just a greater opportunity now that they take strength of schedule more into account moving forward.
Agreed. It's just, this is going to be so fascinating to watch the end of this year and the way it works out. And as an Auburn fan now, heck, screw what they're doing. I'll just pay attention to everything else. But guys, some other games on the periphery. A&M handles Florida, 34-17. Mike Elko's team, man, you talk about looking better, getting better, continuing to improve. Now 6-0, 3-0 in the SEC. David, I'll start with you. What did you think about Marcel Reed? I mean, again, he's not having to play amazing for them to win. He threw the ball 26 times, 234 yards, touchdown and a pick. Reuben Owens had 51 yards rushing. Craver had 77 yards receiving. Nobody really blew it out of the water. But after Florida scored 14 points in the first half, Texas A&M totally turned the water off. They gave up 3 points the rest of the game. Just your thoughts after watching that one.
I think it's a great win against a Florida team that just beat Texas, and quite frankly, Texas A&M I think had the benefit of seeing that performance last week and saying, "Hey, don't you dare look past this team," especially when DJ Lagway and that offense was starting to cook. But Marcel Reed, he needs to be right there in the thick of the Heisman Trophy conversation. He has 2 of the best wide receivers in the country there with Craver and with Concepcion, and they just went about their business. I was looking at this thing at 24-17 there towards the end, and Texas A&M was able to pile on another 10 points just to put games away. So again, they keep showing that they can win in a bunch of different ways. They can lead the entire game. They can come back on you like they did against Notre Dame. They can win at home. They can win on the road. 6-0 for the Aggies, man. Don't seem like they're going anywhere anytime soon.
No, and Blaine, I mean, Billy Napier, what do you think?
At this point, I mean, I it's just like being a Florida fan. Being a Florida fan is just like being on Shutter Island. Like, if I'm a Florida fan, it's like Inception. Like, I get home and spin stuff to see if it actually falls down. Like, you come out and you just have such a phenomenal performance the week before. Not only the way you won mattered to me. You dominated on both sides of the ball. It's not like Texas is a bunch of slouches on defense. Then you come in here. Maybe it's just more of it's time for me to give Texas A&M the credit that they deserve. Because
I love hearing you say that.
I was questioning really their front seven after that Notre Dame performance. And I thought Florida on both sides of the ball is extremely talented up front with a great back. I mean, this is a Mike Elko coach team, right? You ran it 42 times against Florida with 185 rushing yards, average 4 a carry, only 1 turnover, and you killed them in possession. And not only that, you have a guy like Marcel Reed at quarterback. You have 2 legitimate backs, and Owens and Le'Veon Moss. Your offensive line is playing phenomenal. You have 2 guys at receiver. Texas A&M is a damn good football team, and this is a Mike Elko looked coach football team, which is huge. Now, on the other side, Florida, I just don't know. It's the same thing with Hugh Freeze. I mean, at least y'all got the enjoyment of beating Texas. I don't know what that feels like, but sooner or later, how many body blows can you take? You saw just what you said. This is why, like, James Franklin getting fired, ripple effects a lot of coaches in college football.
Mm-hmm.
One,
True.
For the coaches not winning the games they're supposed to win, it's not looking great. If Penn State will fire a guy like James Franklin after just those 2 losses, after all the wins, you're DJ Lagway. If you're Hugh Freeze,
Mike Norvell,
like, but on the other flip side of it, if you're coaches and you're doing really good, you're winning games you're not supposed to win, and you're beating the kids you're supposed to beat. Say, hey, I probably need a little bit more cheese on top of this contract after that. So it's going to be. I don't think Billy Napier lasts through the year. I don't think Hugh Freeze is going to last through the year. I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Norvell doesn't last through the year.
That Norvell buyout's crazy though. If you look at it,
the James Franklin buyout was crazy.
Yeah, that's true. But all right, let's move on. LSU, South Carolina. LSU handled business, but it's like, damn, LSU looks the same, man. Like, that looked just like the LSU Florida game almost. Mm-hmm. Same score, 20-10. Like, again, LSU's defense, give you a ton of credit. You shut out South Carolina in the second, the fourth. But, man, it's just like, it's hard to trust LSU, right? Yeah. It's hard to trust LSU, Coney. Like, I just don't know, when you look at the rest of this schedule that they have, because obviously South Carolina's out of the hunt now. You're a dog on the road at Vandy. Then you got A&M at home and at Bama, and you end the year at Oklahoma. I mean, damn, it's hard for me to buy in. Yeah,
look, I mean, good win. You beat South Carolina at home, so they're sitting at 5-1 right now and 2-1 in the conference. The only loss was at Ole Miss. But, yeah, like you just said, man, I mean, at Vanderbilt, this isn't your grandfather's Vanderbilt team anymore. And you said LSU is officially a dog, or you're projecting them to be a dog?
No, they're a dog on the road at Vandy.
What is that line right now?
The last time I saw, let me pull it up to make sure that I have the most accurate one. I got it on my phone right here.
Well, then that means you won't be favored in your next 3 games, quite frankly. If you're not favored against Vanderbilt, you're not going to be favored against Texas A&M, even though that one's at home.
1.5
and then I don't see a scenario where they're favored against Alabama unless Alabama has another loss or 2 before that game. Obviously, both of those teams will get a bye week before LSU heads to Tuscaloosa. But, yeah, it's not looking great. It's not clicking on the offensive side of the ball. And it looks even worse that Washington State was able to get back to running effectively against Ole Miss. The only team that couldn't run the ball effectively against Ole Miss was LSU. Apparently, Garrett Nussmeier has 18 different injuries. I don't know. But again, this is why if you're going to be elite on one side of the football, at least LSU's elite on the right side of the football this time on defense, because that can keep them in games as they travel here.
100%. Blaine, you've been talking about it for the last couple weeks. Is LSU making the playoff or not?
No.
Is it 9-3 or is it 8-4?
I feel like 9-3 would be on the bright side. If you
I agree with that. I agree with that.
I can see this team legitimately going 8-4, and it just doesn't sit right with me, and it doesn't correlate to me how this LSU offense is not better. Like it doesn't make sense to me. Caden Durham's a good back. You have good offensive linemen. You bring back one of the only returning quarterbacks with experience. Threw for 4,000 yards or whatever it was. And he looks completely different. You have weapons at receiver. You have Groot from the Avengers playing tight end. Like, at some point, like they have to figure it out because Blake Baker and these guys on defense are getting it done. They're getting it done, and it just blows my mind with all the talent, all the weapons that you have in offense. You're this anemic. But look, there's still time to figure it out. Like, look, you're going to get thrown right back into the fire this weekend. So it's one of those things where I wouldn't be surprised to see this LSU team make the playoff with the talent that they have, but they have to show me on the field on offense that they have a pulse. Until they do that, it looks like an 8-4 LSU.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I could see 7-5 too. To be honest, and then I'm
again. Then you're fired. You go 7-5 at LSU.
We just saw that's what. Again, I think maybe Brian Kelly should start. And look, I understand the buyout, and we'll talk to Moscone and this, that, and the other. But you talk about somebody that's kind of a little bit nervous today. If I'm Brian Kelly looking at that, I'm like, well, damn, like it's there's nothing guaranteed. But
what happens if they go on the road? They beat Vanderbilt, which obviously, look, that could happen. Yeah, right.
It's a.
They beat Texas A&M at home with some of that Baton Rouge voodoo magic over there, and then you're sitting at what would that be 7-1 before you head to Tuscaloosa. At that point, even if you beat Arkansas, Western Kentucky, and let's just say they lose at Oklahoma and it's 9-3, which I believe is exactly what I had preseason. Are you firing Brian Kelly then?
No.
This is going to be tough to do that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. It's just it'd have to obviously fall off a cliff, and that buyout situation is interesting as well. We talked a little bit about Ohio State. Ho-hum, probably most potential in the country. Like defensively. I was shocked Illinois scored 16 points, to be honest. I actually thought that was like, hey, man, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, especially after you watched the first half and it was 20-3, and it looked like they were just a fat kid sitting on Illinois that wouldn't let them get up. Altmaier and them were able to put together 13 points in the second half. We mentioned Ole Miss not looking good. You look at Texas Tech, handle business, beat Kansas to death. 42-17. Tennessee, talked about them a little bit. Georgia Tech, Notre Dame roll. BYU, guys, look, it ain't sexy. Yeah. You won it in overtime, but you're sitting here at 6-0 with a young guy at quarterback, and with Arizona State going down now in the Big 12. Man, I know it's only their first loss, and Levitt was hurt and this, that, or the other. Colorado beat Iowa State as well. They're pretty much out. And then Florida State, Blaine.
8th straight ACC loss.
Incredible.
How did they beat Alabama?
I don't know.
Every
I'm
time,
telling you, they got up for that one. They threw a perfect game.
They did. That's probably the best way to
week
put it,
one.
David.
Every game Florida State keeps playing, it's how do they beat Alabama? Because I took Pitt plus 10.5. They're just bad. Look, Florida State's just bad on defense.
Well, I asked you guys after Florida State beat Alabama and Miami beat Notre Dame, I said, is this who these teams really are, or are we going to find some chinks in the armor down the stretch? One of those teams has continued to be number one in our power rankings in Miami, just continue win after win after win, and they look good on both sides of the football. And Florida State, man, fallen from grace.
Dude, it's just, you talk about a roller coaster. What the hell? But, man, I tell you, what an amazing slate of college football yesterday. Anything else that went on that you guys want to hit on before we roll out of here?
That Cameron Dickey running back for Texas Tech rushed for 263 on 21 carries. My goodness, man.
Did you see what the announcer said that's going viral in that game?
Robert Griffin?
Was it RG3 that said it?
What,
get that, some milk?
No, I didn't hear that one. I thought you were saying... Yeah, I heard a couple things, but
dude,
I didn't know if it was
RG3. You see what Arizona State is without Sam Levitt.
Which I wish before I did my locks, leans, and dogs, I wish I had known he wasn't going to play.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
That was brutal. But Blaine, anything else that you want to touch on? about football?
Colorado, nice win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, who'd have thought that Colorado would be a defensive team like this? Like, it's so weird to see that. It's so weird. There's like defense. Hey, let's get through it on offense. Salter can do some witchy things, but man, it's going to be a fun week. It's going to be fun to do the power rankings. We have a James Franklin update as well. We just posted. We have instant reactions to the other games that we obviously, did right after the game that we didn't talk about today. I promise we didn't forget those. But make sure, again, you're locked into Crain & Company. We've got a huge week. You look at week 8, guys. Some very, very interesting games. LSU at Vandy, we mentioned. Georgia Tech at Duke. Oklahoma goes to South Carolina. Ole Miss at Georgia. Tennessee, Bama, I believe is this week as well. That's number 6 versus number 11. USC at Notre Dame. Missouri gets to go in and play Auburn, which I'm sure that'll work out well for them. Utah, BYU. So it's not slowing down anytime soon. So make sure you are locked in to Crain & Company. We hope you have a fantastic Sunday. Be safe, be happy, and we'll see you soon.